Hey, this is Houston Singletary. We're going to go through the ins and outs of Ableton Live 7. Just going to take a few minutes and discuss how audio gets in and out of this program. We're going to talk about some of the views with the buttons, sliders, track views, things like that. So we're going to work in both the arrangement page, which you see right here, working in more of a linear view, working from left to right, traditional digital audio workstation mode, and then back over here to the session view where we've got different tracks lined up. In this case, channel strips, as we'll call them as well. And I've got a couple of tracks here, including some MIDI tracks as well. So what I want to do is talk about the ins and outs on a particular track and how we look at it and how we view it. So we're going to go ahead and take out these other adjacent tracks and just leave ourselves with one. We can also rename this as well if we wanted to up here at the top. In this case, we'll call it track 1. So let's move down and let's talk about how audio gets into this particular track. So we'll go all the way down to the bottom of the channel strip. You can see I've got my record input, my solo button, a mute button right above that. Here's our panning function, working from left to right. Here I've got my volume slider, working with the input volume on this particular track. I can adjust this just by grabbing the slider, or I can move over here to the numerical box and I can type in a value, or I can click and hold and drag up and down. Two ways to enter it there. And we'll move up and look at our peak level indicator just above that. This shows you the peak level of audio coming into the track. So we've got a nice view. Gives us the information that we need there. And now I want to talk about the ins and out section. If we go over here to the right, we've got this handy little icon set that we can click on. This opens up the I/O, in this case the ins and outs, just by clicking. I can also Command Option I on my keyboard. Handy little macro there as well. So you can see we can just toggle back and forth, open up this new view above the meter section. So let's talk about how we get audio from and audio to this particular track. At the top we've got a pull down window. It gives us a choice of where we want to bring this audio from. We can also configure our outputs on our interface. And now you can see we've got our inputs for the actual audio coming in, both in stereo, channel 1, channel 2. If I've got a multi-out interface, like I said before, we can take this up to a higher numerical value. Right below that, we've got our monitor section. We've got our in, auto, and off. In obviously monitors the input in real time. You click it on there. And our auto button. Of course, turning auto on will pass the audio in real time when the play button is not engaged and the record button is on. And of course, when we're playing, it will actually turn the monitor off. So that's our auto button inside the in and out section of the session page. And last but not least is our master output chooser window. This selects the audio track's output, and the list of outputs just depends on the configuration of your own interface. You can also use the output chooser to route the track's audio in some very creative ways, including bouncing audio from track to track and also discretely through your interface's multi-outputs. Let me show you how we can route audio from track to track inside Live 7. I'll go ahead and set up another track. So now I'll take the output of track number 1 and I'll simply route that to the input of track number 2 in the audio from dialog window. It's that easy inside Live 7. Now I want to go up top. I want to talk about our sends and returns as well. I've got a pull down window. Lets me insert return track. When I do that, you can see to the right, a return track automatically opens up. I have a couple of ways that I can open these as well. I can simply go over to our handy little icon windows over here to the far right, these tab buttons. I can hit the S, which brings up our send view. And you can see I've got one send knob, corresponds with the one stereo return track that's over to the right. I can do it another way and just hit insert return track, and it brings up another send. So I have up to 12 sends per track inside Live 7. So again, the send can be opened up top in our pull down window, but also by our handy little activator buttons to the right. This includes the return tracks as well. You see I've got the R on and off, and there we go. Very simple, but obviously works really, really well and efficiently. So that's a look at our different views inside the session page. We looked at our ins and outs, our sends and returns, and our meter views. In the next tutorial, we're going to look at some of these clip boxes and these clip views. We'll talk about that, and we'll also look at the arrangement page and some of the functions and views there, all inside